could watch Harley Quinn.
No!
Have you seen the show?
Oh, God, no! It's just another heavy-handed female empowerment story where the true villain is the quote-unquote patriarchy.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Nerdy Before It Was Cool. I'm Eddie, and I just wanted to say, if you're a DC fan, you should check out Harley Quinn, the animated series. And I know what some of y'all are saying right now. Of course you like this show, Eddie. It's one full of Batman's rogues gallery, and you're a Batman fanboy. But I promise that's not the only reason why. It's simply just a good show. And by the way, today's topic was chosen by Patreon Alan Liska. At least once a month, I'll be picking a topic picked by my Patreon. So if you want to participate in that, feel free to check out my Patreon link in the description. So once I hit 15 Patreons, I'll start doing more Patreon exclusive content for you guys. Like any human being with taste, I love Batman, and so do many other people, and Warner Brothers understands this. That's why there's always something Batman related in development, and honestly, I don't blame them. The lore of Batman and Gotham is just so rich, you could pretty much make an entire cinematic universe just off of his lore alone. I mean, Fox made an entire series exploring that concept, but sometimes I feel like Warner Brothers forgets this. They forget that the world and the characters around Batman are arguably just as important as he is. And that's why I love this show. It really highlights Batman's rogues gallery from the big ones like Riddler, Joker, Penguin, and Two-Face, but there's also some deep cuts like Dr. Psycho, Clayface, Kiteman, and of all people, Condiment King. They even work in an arc where Harley's trying to join the Legion of Doom. But as cool as all those things are, this show definitely won't be for everyone. It's lax, it's raunchy, and filled with a ton of hilarious bits. And my favorite thing about it is they do all this while keeping Batman as the serious straight man of the show. And in my opinion, that's Batman 101. He is a funny character, but it's juxtaposed to his counterparts.
Oh, ain't he cute when he's escaping?
No.
In this series, Batman's voiced by Diedrich. If he sounds familiar to you, that's because he's the same guy who voiced Batman in the Brave and the Bold series. Which is funny because if I was asked to describe the tone of this show, I would say it's Batman the Brave and the Bold with an R rating slapped on top of it. And I've definitely had my complaints about these Batmanless Batman shows, but in my opinion, this is the perfect example of how to do a Batman related show that he's not the focal point of. You feel his presence, but you don't always see him, and I like that. This is the Harley Quinn animated series, and she is the star of the show. With all respect to the OG, this might be my favorite version of Harley, and that's coming from someone who will gladly fight any man, woman, and child that disrespects Batman the animated series. They took the iconic character created by Bruce Timm and in my opinion elevated her to a new level. Everything from her style and her mannerisms to her motivations and her relationship to the Joker.
Joker never loved me. He only loves Batman.
Episode 1 of this series is what I was hoping that the live-action Harley Quinn movie was gonna be. This is the real emancipation of Harley Quinn. There's been plenty of iterations of the Joker-Harley relationship that's depicted as a relationship, but it's not. The Joker is chaotic, manipulative, narcissistic, and he is a sociopath. And that makes their relationship in general that much more intriguing to me because Harley is a therapist. She should be able to see these characteristics and know to run for the hills, but she doesn't. She gets sucked in just like everyone else. Harley Quinn's existence is a walking representation of how devious and manipulative the Joker can really be. They basically become trauma bonded in a sick way. He falsely lets down his walls in order to penetrate hers.
That's what she said.
She truly believes Joker loves her, but his only love and obsession is trying to get under Batman's skin and testing his morals. And anyone in his life is basically just a tool to help him better do that. They really nailed that concept home. And if episode 1 is her emancipation, then the rest of season 1 and some of season 2 is her trying to figure out and understand who she really is without the Joker, which is a concept that Birds of Prey vaguely explore. But with this being a series and character study, they really have a lot more time to flesh that concept concept out. Beyond all of the funny jokes and silly gags, there really is a lot of smart writing and nuanced commentary about abusive relationships. I've known men and women who were abused by their partner, and you might too, and we have all asked that question to ourselves: why do they keep going back? In the case of Harley, even though he's extremely toxic, being with him provides certain luxuries that she wouldn't have without him. But I don't want to insinuate that Harley and people who've been abused only stick with their abusers because of financial or social gain, because there is definitely a mental aspect to it. These people are usually abused, already really insecure or depressed, and people prey on that. They're pretty much masters of creating these unhealthy codependent bonds. It's basically brainwash, and they explore that pretty thoroughly in a way that I didn't expect. Harley is the victim of Joker's manipulation, but they don't fully let her off the hook for her actions, and I really respect that narrative choice. And by the way, Jason Tudyk's Joker might be my favorite animated Joker since Mark Hamill and Batman the Animated Series.
Wayne Tech promised an electric car by this year. I put a deposit down. Where's my goddamn electric car, Bruce?
He puts his own spin on the voice, the laugh, on his mannerisms, and I would be super open to see him voicing Joker in other animated projects. He also voices Clayface and a few other characters in this show as well.
That really hurt, you.
This show's biggest superpower is making you care for all of the characters, even the ones that aren't so savory. These iterations have become some of my favorites. They're either a slightly more comedic version of what is otherwise a pretty faithful adaptation, or they're a subversion of what you expect in some way, like one of the other main characters of the show, Poison Ivy. I've always found her to be super boring and extremely one-note. She wants to save the plants and the trees by any means, and that's pretty much her only motivation. But here they really livened her up. She still has a lot of those goals, they just made her more relatable as a human being first.
You were my one friend, and I asked you for one favor, but instead you ditched me for the Joker who treats you like shit! I thought you could change, but I was wrong! You still live your entire life based on what he might think!
She's not just a villain with a green thumb that hates humanity. Much like other iterations, she is very isolated, but she's isolated because she fears being abandoned. She fears that if she lets someone in, then they're just gonna leave her like everyone else has. And I think we can all relate to that fear in some way, shape, or form. On top of that, she's also hilarious, and a lot of that has to do with Lake Bell's amazing voice performance. She's this hardened introvert with a soft, gooey center, and Bell plays that constantly annoyed persona perfectly. Then there's Bane, who's literally a meme of the Tom Hardy version. It's extremely silly and played for comic relief a lot of the time, but he still managed to have some emotional arcs too. He actually is probably one of the smartest characters on the show, and I like that because Bane is a really intelligent character along with his bronze size and strength. And most of his comedic relief just comes from him being a little aloof and the fact that none of the other villains really take him seriously.
My chicken is rubbery.
Your beef looks good.
Fine.
I might finish that.
Well, then what are we doing?
As much as I love Bane the character, I mean, his design and concept is kind of ridiculous, so I get it. And honestly, I could go on and on about these characters. Like the fact that I never knew I needed a drunk and depressed Jim Gordon who was borderline an obsessed Batman fanboy. Or the fact that I'd never thought I'd see another Mr. Freeze storyline that captured the heartbreak brought to us by Batman the Animated Series. But yet, here we are. People say they want WB and DC to take risks. They want them to be comfortable bringing up more obscure characters and not only focus on the big three. People say they want something new and fresh that highlights the greatness of these characters but isn't a complete ripoff of something that we've already seen. And that's Harley Quinn the Animated Series. It's smart, it's fun, and even with its more comedic tone, it really treats these characters with the care they deserve. I'm currently rewatching the series and I'm almost to the newest season, and when all the episodes are out, I'm gonna binge season 3. But with that being said, I'd love to know what you think about Harley Quinn the Animated Series down in the comments.